Good morning, everyone. It's Andrew O'Donnell with Supercharged Stocks. Happy to see you all together today. And one of my favorite companies and one of my favorite people to talk to, Robert Rohlfing, CEO, Chairman, everything, President as well, everything of Desert Mountain Energy. Really excited to catch up with you. This is a fantastic story, a fantastic opportunity. It's been a little quiet lately, but I know there's a reason for it, but we're excited to catch up on some of the financing news as well as drilling news that are coming up. How's everything going?
Well, thank you. It's good to see you again this morning. As I say, we just finished getting in the $9 million and a $4 million private placement, which is kind of tough at a time that a lot of people can't even come up with it. And we're really blessed to have it well oversubscribed, many times over. And and then you get into that, and it takes a little while to get these things through. And therefore, you go into a quiet period and you can't say anything, even though we have been busy. I haven't been just sitting on my laurels. I've been working hard. But having both those financings out of the way really sets us up for long term now, for going into with the engineering, the final engineering on both the processing facilities and the power generation, the solar power generation plant. That's one of the things that I think there's a lot of people that have kind of missed that little nuance there. And the reason having solar power generation is because it controls our fixed costs for years and years and years. As long as we want to run this stuff, we have an electrical supply that is not subject to the normal power grid demands and the pricing thereof, so that we can maintain very good costs. Plus, the power generation facility, we are going to be building a 1 megawatt plant, and our actual design criteria are considerably under that. So we are actually going to be an energy company and generate electricity, and it helps us and helps all the shareholders, because it really, we lock in so much of our operating costs with just electricity on this, because we're not using methane, and it's a lot cleaner. We don't have this, the emissions, and that's one of the things our goal is with the company, is to make us, I can't be totally green, but I can do a lot within my purview to do things in the most cost-effective and take the extra step and design it in a green manner. It's possible to be done. And I know over time, there will be a lot more things that come out that will be, green and new things. And we're happy to be part of that, because the helium is required for a lot of the new EV vehicles. It helps run the computers, makes them run faster and on less electricity, so that they can, I don't know if I want to run out and hop into a vehicle that I'm not driving. I'm just, I get into an airplane, and I know there's an autopilot on most of the time. But in a car, there are just too many opportunities for someone to come flying in at you, and I still like to have a little control over where I'm going. So then that aspect is fun. And then, so where do we progress from here? We're looking at wrapping up the permitting on the third well, which is not going to be anywhere near the first two wells. And the reason for that, there's another really large target that I've wanted to drill for quite a while. And we're going to go drill that. And there's multiple zones, within that well that we're looking at for helium. We know that there's a well drilled back in 1999, about 5 miles away from that was what you could consider to be off structure or low. And they had gas in it. but it was at the gas water contact point, so it was not really viable for them to try to produce. And we're not just slightly uphill from it, we're over 500 feet higher. So we should be moving away from what's going on downhole as far as the water that could be coming in. We're getting away from that, we feel, and we're going to be up on top of an anticline. Again, another anticline should be the highest spot. Won't be getting into frac jobs, won't be getting into huge acid jobs or anything like that. So that is our goal, is to stay in and not have to try to do that. And everything we have designed thus far is to do exactly that, Andrew.
Yes, that's what I was really intrigued about, the entire integration and each kind of stage and step with the company too was trying to find optimal solutions as we're moving forward towards this kind of greener future that everyone wants to see, and putting on the thinking caps and going, listen, there's a way we could do this. Let's think outside the box, and it makes everyone happy, and it does the right thing for the environment. Now, there's a way you're giving back to the community as well with this electric power as well, is there not?
Oh, there is. What we have planned is at the point that we reach approximately 50% of our money recovered on the hard cost of the electric power generation plant, we're actually going to be donating up to 5% of that to the schools in Snowflake, Taylor, and Winslow, Arizona. Our company really feels, education is the key to so many things. Schools have been really hurt, and especially with them trying to deal with the COVID and how they teach and the extra stress on all that. And I know we're going to get past that point. Schools will be back in some different fashion. And we just look at this and say, this is a great way to give back to the community to really help, teach, educate. And that's so important to do that. And a lot of our royalties, because we are on, majority of our properties are on state land, our royalties basically go to the Arizona Land Department. Now, those royalties get split depending on where they're at. It goes to fund state schools, all of the schools across the state, Department of Corrections, it goes to the state hospitals, and then some obviously goes to the state land department. But the majority of it is for funding schools and across the state. This is a way, by using the power generation, we can give back to the local community where we're doing all of our work. And that's what, to me, it's important to be involved in the community. Like where I live right now, in Muskogee, Oklahoma. I've been part of Muskogee Medical Foundation for many years. We do free flu shots every year.
Yes.
And it's just a drive up, and it's so fun. You just set that type of stuff up. And I'm looking forward to bringing some of these other things that I've been doing elsewhere, and you incorporate them and do other things. And it's fun because you can actually have an impact, positive impact in kids' lives, in people's lives. And it's like, that is one of the most fun things that I get to do. It really is.
Well, I love that too, because it's that whole notion, and this is kind of the mantra that I always kind of preach, is that you can have values and value investing. And this is, and not only that, you can have a value company that has exceptional growth. And this truly is a scenario where it's kind of this trinity is met, where we've got a critical, essentially rare gas that is absolutely necessary for coolant and high-tech coolants for the future. And we're able to now incorporate a lot of new technology, and with the solar panels that we're doing stronger and better, and to positively affect not only the environment as a whole, but the regional community as well. And it just shows where that kind of capital markets has a real good way of positively impacting people's lives.
And that's one of those things that, again, it's so, I've been working on a lot of this for almost 3 years to even get it to this point, do the pre-engineering work on solar panels and the legislative end that you have to work through. There's just a myriad of things. You can't wait until you just go out and drill a well. Well, you could, but that's just not me. I like to know that I have things working, moving in step, moving the ball down the field, as it were, and towards the goal. And that goal is this. And we've already hit a number of goals. Now there's a whole new series of goals and what we're going to do. And that's what is unique with this.
I also like this is a little bit of a tangent, but I touched on it in an article that I'm going to be posting soon. But TSMC, Taiwanese Semiconductors, is going to be, now granted, it's a big state, but they're going to be a neighbor.
Yeah.
So it just shows too, and I think I read that they are basically pre-sold to Apple. Like, I mean, they're for the next years, they're like, we're making all of your semiconductors, and we're going to be doing it out of Arizona. How does this tie in with you guys? I mean, what does that look like for you guys?
Well, obviously, the other thing that they do is a lot of high-end Department of Defense chips, and those are made in a pure helium environment. So, obviously, they're going to be looking for another source. They could possibly still buy some from out of what's left in the national reserves in Texas. But as soon as you liquefy it, you send it down the road, you're losing it. It's vaporizing. Yep. And it may be only a 12-hour drive in the middle of summer. In middle winter, it could be a 16-hour drive. And they could lose anywhere from 5 to as much as 17% of the helium that's in there is going to vaporize.
Yeah. So
basically, in the general area that they are looking at, and the other semiconductor manufacturers, and there's 17 different companies in the Phoenix metro area, shall we say. That puts us within 4.5 to 5 hours, depending on which end of the spectrum you want to be. We can be there. So they, in effect, would be losing only basically less than 1%. Perfect. And that, at these kind of dollars and cents,
yes,
it's a lot of money, because they will use a lot of this. So they're just having them in there along with the other people. It just adds more to the market demand for our product. You know, and the price could go up or it can go down. I mean, obviously the prices have dropped a little bit on the crude level side. They haven't dropped on the refined side.
No.
You know, okay, well, in one case, it dropped from like $2,800 to I think I was told by the one university, they're now paying $2,702. You know, I mean, and they're buying it by the liter, and it's just super expensive. And a lot of these universities, and for like super colliders and that type of work, Cellatron, they've added a helium recovery system to it. It's not really cost effective. They just have to have it so they can keep operating. And they still have to replace the helium because it's not a total recovery. And if what I've been told thus far by one university is that the money that they spent thus far on just the helium recovery is actually 4.5 times what the cost of the helium is. But they're looking at it long term as to, well, does it keep going up, or just the supply, can they just cut down as to how many liters they have to buy? And it was amazing how much helium loss they have in some of these, scientific little studies they do. Every time they spin up the super collider, it requires about $2.5 million worth of helium.
Oh, wow.
And if they don't recover it, it's another 2.5. Now they can recover about 90% of that. Well, which is good, but it's still, every time they fire it up,
That's a big loss. Yeah.
so, and that's one thing that I really didn't understand or fully appreciate,
Mm-hmm.
how they and some of these other companies, and they've tried using liquid nitrogen,
Yep.
but liquid nitrogen has its own problems that they haven't overcome yet. Someday, I'm sure somebody will overcome that. But in manufacturing processes, you can still use dry nitrogen, but if you have any copper, and there's any moisture, it reacts with the copper
Interesting.
and the trace sulfur, and it forms nitric acid.
Okay.
So, and it just eats stuff, and it's very minute, but, and those are some of the things that, again, I say I did not fully appreciate until I was told by, some of these professors, well, here's the actual problem, why we can't use this yet. And you don't get the same cooling, you don't get things, you can't run them as fast because they don't become superconductive. Helium becomes superconductive, which is the totally unique property. Nothing else does.
So this is fascinating because you're set up now. I mean, you've got the financing done, and although the kind of, and not to get in trouble, the bureaucratic aspect of closing it took a bit of time, but you raised the money so fast. People, when they saw that release, those kind of in the know and that could read it, most retail investors would be, they thought, oh, okay, what does this mean? They jumped on it very quickly. So you're past that now, and we're really looking forward to seeing what this next hole is going to do. There's going to be lots of news flow, and there's going to be lots coming out. So we're pretty excited to see all the news coming in the next near future. Is there anything that we're missing that we need to pay attention over the next couple of weeks or even couple months?
Basically, there will be a whole lot of small news releases, and when we're drilling the well, that we'll have set casing, and then we'll wait for the cement to cure, and then we'll perforate it. So it's just kind of it will be just a flow of events. In between there will be, now that we've gotten the financing behind us and we can talk again, because you can't discuss anything, you're on a news blackout, so we'll be able to really discuss this real shortly here about the companies that we've engaged for and gas engineering, for the electrical engineering, where exactly we're going with this. And that's exciting because it becomes, I think, to the smaller investors, and they wonder because, well, why can't they say anything? And it's frustrating to me. I would love to. I've seen enough responses. These people don't know what they're doing, and they can't say that. And it's like, it just is what it is, And I'm locked in by rules and regulations. And you literally can't say anything. And that's frustrating because I am one of these people. I'd love to communicate and take time with people and try to communicate, well, this is what we're doing. This is why you have to do the engineering on this. And some of the other technologies that we're using, like to strip off the nitrogen. We've actually, I started working almost 7 years ago with one university, and how they created a different type of membrane, and we are going to be able to strip the nitrogen for 47% less electricity.
Wow.
It's huge. I mean,
that's
just the strides that have come forward in just the few years. And that's why I'm really excited, because all these things, all these balls that you throw up in the air, you're trying to keep them all up and juggling them all. Now they're starting to come together. And I think people will really like to see that as it gels.
Yes.
And it's like one thing after another, and then there'll be a few quiet periods, and then it'll be more and more, and we'll be drilling again. I'm not going to try drilling in the middle of December and January at the elevation we're at. It requires, we're high, and, you could have, it won't get above freezing.
Yeah.
and you have to just bring in so many additional things. And it's like, to wait 60 days, it's not going to make a bit of difference to save $150,000.
Yes.
I'm going to wait 60 days to
Yes.
save 150, because all the ongoing engineering work and everything else, and how we're bringing, we had originally looked, just to give people an additional background, we had actually looked at trying to use electric vehicles to move the natural gas, actually electric tractor.
Oh, wow. Excellent. Yeah. Yeah.
And because we have so many high mountain grades, it's not cost effective. We can't do it. We will be, there's a couple other contracts that we have to put into place. Initially, we will be using just contract trucking companies just to move the actual tank cylinders around. But later on, when we are going to be doing it ourselves, we'll be using natural gas trucks.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in some ways it costs a little more to operate. You have to have people trained, especially when it gets cold. There's certain constraints. But why not? I can do this.
Yeah.
This is neat. I don't have to. I want to make the smallest carbon footprint that I can and still be productive. I think we can do it.
Yeah.
And I want to.
Yeah. I want you to as well.
But it's a lot of people just think, well, just because you're in the drilling industry, you're one of these bad guys and you're trying, you have to do it. No, there's a lot of the big companies that have picked up on things, and by the members of, like on our board that we've added, some great minds have been in there on some real early development of newer drilling techniques. And I'm still old school.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things I have to learn as, got to teach an old dog new trick. But these are fun because we can actually make a positive impact in reducing the emissions, our emissions, what we can do for education, help schools, give back to the local community. That's fun. That to me we're being blessed with some really unique times. And a lot of folks can look at it and say, well, the sky is falling. I mean, and it's easy to get into a negative rut. To me, I look at this, I have so many wonderful, positive things going on. And it's like, and I can help. I can do this. I can't fix everything, but Desert Mountain Energy can come in. We can do this. We can do this. We can do this, and just right down the road. And that's fun.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, they probably won't see it from that angle, but maybe I hope that I can convey a little bit of where we're trying to go with this long term, into a fully vertically integrated helium production and energy, because we will be producing electricity.
Yes. And that's what's so exciting too, is it's not just a theoretical, we can do this, we can help the climate by doing this and do a study. This is practical application of science and techniques, of pulling it all together real time to go, hey, listen, I think that if we do this, we can meet this. And that, whenever I look at other stories out there that don't get picked up by the mainstream news or anyone else, is that if you just put your head over there and look at all the negative all day long, yes, it gets miserable, but there's so many companies, and this is one particular, that it is showing how people are out there solving these problems. Like, this is where investors, if you are passionate about this, you should be spending your money or your time. That's the best two ways. If you're passionate about something and testing theories and theses is real time to get the results that we all want to see. And this is a perfect example of that kind of union of all of those kind of, beliefs coming together.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Well, thank you for inviting me in today. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Robert. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. And we look forward to hearing more news coming out soon, and all the best of luck.